This is my neighborhood, Anderson, South Carolina. For the purposes of this project, we're going to stay within a mile, maybe a mile and a half, of the church at 700 Boulevard. This is a video of me walking to the corner bagel shop. You can see that Boulevard is located on the corner of Greenville Street and Boulevard. It's a fairly busy street. Both of them are very crucial and vital to the city of Anderson and its downtown area. And I'm going to be walking to the corner bagel shop, which is always an interesting mix of people. Lots of folks from the university, upper administration, folks from the hospital, and then working class people as well tend to gather there. So it's a wonderful opportunity to sort of see a cross section of Anderson. You always are interested in seeing folks in suits, folks in scrubs, folks in students in random casual clothes, people in sweats, people in uniforms. So it's a great place to go and see folks.
Hello.
Boulevard. How are you?
I had an opportunity to talk to the manager at Corner Bagel. He's a wonderful Christian business owner, and he encourages folks to gather regularly to have Bible studies or business meetings. On any given day, you usually can see a group of anywhere from 5 to 10 people meeting somewhere either in the back room or in the middle room. But it's a great mix of folks, and he's a really nice guy and enjoys having this little spot where people can come and gather and have those kind of conversations that are meaningful and productive. But also, he wants to provide an environment that could potentially be life-changing as well. Just a wonderful conversation with him. And on a side note, it's kind of neat to be able to see the church right from the window of Corner Bagel. This is a walk to Ann Med Hospital. You can see the church right there. We're going to be going about 2 city blocks down Greenville Street, and we're coming up on the hospital, Ann Med. And it is a rather large complex here. There's another one farther down Greenville Street, but this one has been newly renovated and refurbished. They're very hospitable to local clergy. Their pastoral care, chaplaincy staff is just very good. We've worked with them in the past. We're on the corner of Greenville Street and Fant. This is the front of Ann Med Hospital. It is the largest employer in downtown Anderson. It has drawn a significant portion of our international community here in Anderson. You can see that this is a busy intersection with a lot of businesses with the ambulance complex and the gas station, and down the street is El Jimador, which you'll hear me talk about later. Thai Spice is another locally owned restaurant, and it draws a lot of people from the hospital across the street. I got to hear an interesting conversation with a personnel director hiring a doctor and trying to convince him to move to Anderson instead of Atlanta, and all of the wonderful things about living in a small town. So that was fun to listen to. I caught this picture of our church steeple at the Ann Med Hospital sign, and I thought to myself that we really don't have a lot of interaction with Ann Med other than visiting congregational members there. And I thought that for it to be such a huge presence right down the street from us, that we really should have more of a direct relationship with Ann Med. Maybe there's some other parish nursing possibilities or some other kind of relationship that we could have. This is Romeo, our postal carrier, and he's been a great resource for information about our community since he regularly walks and travels the area right there around our church. Anderson Free Clinic is on Fant Street, just down from the hospital. It's a few blocks, maybe 5 from the church, and we have a partnership with the Free Clinic. We support them out of our budget, and we have several members who volunteer and work in the pharmacy and in the receiving areas. They do a very, very great work in the city of Anderson, providing people who have no insurance or means for health care to have access to good doctors and a great pharmacy. This is the Anderson Library, about 2 blocks from the free clinic down Society, and it is a wonderful resource for our community. They provide help with taxes, they provide computer use for folks looking for jobs, they help enroll in health care. There's all kinds of resources there with so many people from different ethnicities, different socioeconomic backgrounds. It's just a wonderful place to meet people and talk to people. Our family is there frequently. We own way too many books, and so we're trying not to buy anymore. So we go there to check out books probably once every week or every other week. And so we have wonderful conversations with people, and it's just a great place. We're on Fant Street, and this is the old high school, and it's been converted into a place to do Meals on Wheels because they have a large industrial kitchen there. And Boulevard provides the people power for an entire route of Meals on Wheels Monday through Friday. And we partner with them, and they are a great asset to our community. This is also the hub for the Anderson Area Transit Authority, and if you have to switch routes, this is where you'll stay until your next bus line can pick you up. And it functions fairly efficiently, but the routes aren't all that convenient in Anderson. Across the street is First Baptist Church. We cooperate with them in many things, including sharing transportation and involvement in a lot of community organizations. On the corner of Greenville and Murray Streets is the United Way of Anderson. Boulevard Baptist partners with them to provide food security to children who receive free lunch in Anderson. We fund and help pack weekend snack packs for distribution by area schools. We are in downtown Anderson on Main Street. You can see that it's an active downtown area. A lot of revitalization has happened in the last 15 years, making it a beautiful place and a great place to come and shop and to eat. Here's Figs, a locally owned restaurant. They use locally sourced food. We're at the courthouse, and you can see that it's decorated for Christmas. It's a beautiful area. As you look downtown, you can see even more traffic. There is Doolittle's Cafe and Phil's Jewelers, locally owned businesses. We frequent Doolittle's for staff meeting on a pretty regular basis. Here's another business that we like to support, Suma Joe's. It's a local restaurant that sources its food from several local farms and is very conscientious of its impact on the environment. This is Marshall Street that I'm driving, and I'm driving it because someone was killed here and two women were shot here not too long ago. It's actually a pretty neighborhood with some nice homes, smaller homes, but it tends to be fairly unsafe in some ways. A lot of these have turned over to rentals. There's a apartment complex there, some smaller homes here on Calhoun, and then as we turn and go back up Creswell Avenue, you can see some more rentals that it's a little more, makes you feel uncomfortable if you're walking it, which is why I'm driving. But this is about a half a mile from the church, headed towards downtown. This is behind the free clinic and Meals on Wheels that we just saw. This is North Street. It runs parallel to Boulevard. Through the trees there you can see Young Memorial. We have 2 members that live on this street. It's a nice street with an established neighborhood. Many of the homes were built right after the turn of the century and as part of the historic district of Anderson. If you continue to go down Calhoun Street, you'll get to Calhoun Academy of the Arts. It is about a mile and a half from the church. It is our community elementary school. Statistically, it has 627 students, 58% of which receive free lunch, 6% received reduced lunch, 52% are white, 37% black, and 11 Hispanic or Asian. Anderson District 5 is a district of choice for those with the ability to drive their children to school. Programs focusing on specific areas are used as incentives to encourage enrollment. McCants Middle School is located a mile and a half from Boulevard Baptist Church on Greenville Street. It is our community school. My daughter attends this school, and she is in company with 681 students total, 39% of which receive free lunch, 4% reduced lunch, 60% are white, 30% black, and 10% Asian or Hispanic. She's had a great experience here, and she's currently a 7th grader. Out of my side door onto Springdale, and I'm going to walk up to Boulevard. This is the Brown House, as we call it. They are our neighbors, and it's recently been purchased by a wonderful gentleman and completely renovated and refurbished, and it is beautiful now. Probably the most beautiful historic home here in Anderson. It was probably built around 1901, 1902. And Boulevard actually owned the Brown House for about 20 years and used it for various ministries. As we continue to walk down the historic district of Boulevard, we're about a block from the church at this point, and you can see some more of these larger homes. And you can see our closest church neighbor, that's Young Memorial Reformed Presbyterian Church. And as you look down the block, you can see these large oaks that are characteristic of this neighborhood that swallow the sidewalks and make them kind of dangerous in some places. And some more of these beautiful turn-of-the-century homes with the large columns. It's very characteristic of this neighborhood and makes it a beautiful place to walk and to spend some time. And as we're walking down, getting closer to the college, you can see these lots get bigger and the homes get bigger, and the sidewalk gets more uneven. And now we're approaching the college, and we're seeing how this neighborhood has actually changed significantly in the last 10 years. Now we're actually on Anderson University's campus. If we look here, we can see the lawn with the big oak trees. This is where they have graduation. Those are the academic buildings and administrative buildings behind us. And as we look down, we can see what is so beautiful about this area, but also what has really changed in the last 7 to 10 years. If we look across the street, we're going to see the dormitories that have been built. Those were not here as little as 7 years ago. My husband and I actually moved to Anderson in 2002 and lived where these dormitories are, in a home that was built in 1915, pretty brick home, part of the historic district. But Anderson, over time, bought up all the houses on about 3 city blocks worth, and they deteriorated, and then the city finally let them tear them down, and they built dormitories in their place. So this has been a significant change from a historic neighborhood with beautiful homes to now a block completely, well, 3 city blocks dominated by the university. AU continues to expand and increase enrollment and are building a new student life center. Walking down Greenville Street, I discovered something that I've driven by several hundred times, a large house looking like a castle nestled in the woods. About a quarter of a mile from the church is a park called Cater's Lake, and it's a moderate-sized little pond area with ducks and geese. It's a very nice, relaxing area. It's beautiful, and it's right in the heart of Anderson, probably one of the prettiest places right here in Anderson proper. And there's some nice homes built in the 50s right on Hiawatha across the way. We have a church member who lives there, and he says that this is a very nice place to live and look out. There's some larger homes there on Greenville Street across the way. And this is the intersection of College Avenue and Springdale Road. We are right behind the church building, actually. If you look through the woods, you can see our Christian Activities Center. This neighborhood was built in the 1950s and through the 70s, and has changed dramatically in the last probably 10 to 15 years as the housing situation gets more critical at AU. They have increased enrollment and don't have enough places for all these students to live. So many of the juniors and seniors are now living in houses like this one that have become rentals right behind the college and behind the church. These homes that are adjacent to our Christian Activities Center are rentals, and there's a house that is rented by several Hispanic gentlemen that work at El Jimador, a restaurant that we go to frequently for our staff meetings. And I met Francisco. He's there going into his driveway, and I had a nice conversation with him that I'll share later. Here I'd like to transition to talk about our assets in our community, and I'd like to talk about Anderson University for a moment. I think Anderson University is one of our neighborhood's greatest assets. There are young men and women learning what it means to answer Christ's call to serve others. College age is a unique time to explore our understanding of how God will individually use us to carry out God's kingdom work. As I have learned from conversations with Carly and Christy, our Wednesday night nursery workers, many AU students are not only willing to serve in our community, but are eager to gain experiences that will help them to discern what to do with the rest of their lives. Carly and Christy are early education majors and are incredibly reliable and helpful in caring for our toddlers and babies. Through a relationship, I have accompanied them these past 18 months, listening to stories about classes, woes with friends, boyfriend drama, excitement about trips, and opportunities. As they begin their student teaching this spring, I will continue to pray for them and for the children whose lives they will surely impact. As I reflect on biblical stories, the couple of Priscilla and Aquila come to mind. They are mentioned in Acts chapter 18 and several of Paul's letters. Paul relies on them to not only educate others, and specifically Apollos, but also to be leaders in their community. As I dream about the possibilities, I can imagine the things we could accomplish for the children in Anderson if Boulevard was to find a way to collaborate with AU. If we would remain open-minded and stop seeing AU students as pitiable conservatives in need of progressive enlightenment, but rather as true dialogue partners, I believe that we could witness what God is already at work doing at the end of our street. The theologian Bonhoeffer, in Life Together, discusses the kind of objectification I believe we at Boulevard are often guilty of. He says, the person who loves the dream of community will destroy community, but the person who loves those around them will create community. My sincere hope is that we will first love our more theologically conservative brothers and sisters at AU. Then we will let God direct our relationship and navigate us into new ventures for living truly together. I'd like to talk about Francisco for a little while. He lives a few houses down from Boulevard and works at a Mexican restaurant that we frequent as a staff. He knows just enough English to get by in the workplace, but struggles conversationally. The biblical story that comes to my mind is that of Apollos, mentioned in Acts 18. Apollos was enthusiastic and well-spoken, but he only knew of Jesus up to the point of John's baptism. Priscilla and Aquila took Apollos aside and filled him in on the rest of the story. My friend Francisco has already learned a great deal since coming to the U.S. He has navigated more change than many of us will ever face. He is friendly and enthusiastic and hardworking. I believe Boulevard could equip him to be an even greater asset to our community by helping him learn conversational English. Boulevard has had an English as a second language class before, but only for women, and now we only have one for Japanese-speaking women. If Francisco could learn the rest of the story, how much more could we deepen our relationship with him? Not only could we get to know Francisco better, but he could use those skills to become more successful in bridging the culture gap for his friends and those of us who fail miserably at Spanish. Bonhoeffer in Life Together speaks of listening. There is a kind of listening with half an ear that presumes already to know what the other person has to say. It is an impatient, inattentive listening that despises the brother and is only waiting for a chance to speak and thus to get rid of the other person. Christians have forgotten that the ministry of listening has been committed to them by Him who is Himself the great listener and whose work they should share. We should listen with the ears of God so that we may speak the word of God. I would like to learn, with the help of others, how to better listen to Francisco's story and enable him to share it with others. I'm so appreciative of our local business owners, from the Corner Bagel Shop, Thai Spice, El Jimador, Suma Joe's, E-City Java, and Figs. They have created spaces for unique and meaningful conversations to happen. They are gathering places for diverse people to share stories and create relationships. They practice entrepreneurship that lives in mutualism with community, each benefiting and building up the other. This reminds me of the hospitality of Lydia, described in Acts chapter 16. She was a convert to Christianity and also a businesswoman. She said this to Paul: "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and stay." These business owners have invited us to come into their house and stay, and also to share in conversations that are important. Just as we can meet people different from ourselves at the library, it is my hope that we can also embody the kind of hospitality that encourages people to stay, to settle in, and that we can listen in ways that inspire and renew others. What if our church could welcome as many different kinds of people as our local businesses and library? I also thought about this quote from Dietrich Bonhoeffer in Life Together as well about thankfulness. In the Christian community, thankfulness is just what it is anywhere else in the Christian life. Only he who gives thanks for little things receives the big things. We prevent God from giving us the great spiritual gifts He has in store for us because we do not give thanks for daily gifts. We think we dare not be satisfied with the small measure of spiritual knowledge, experience, and love that has been given to us, and that we must constantly be looking forward eagerly for the highest good. Then we deplore the fact that we lack the deep certainty, the strong faith, and the rich experience that God has given to others, and we consider this lament to be pious. We pray for the big things and forget to give thanks for the ordinary, small, and yet really not small gifts. How can God entrust great things to one who will not thankfully receive from Him the little things? If we do not give thanks daily for the Christian fellowship in which we have been placed, even where there is no great experience, no discoverable riches, but much weakness, small faith, and difficulty, if, on the contrary, we only keep complaining to God that everything is so paltry and petty, so far from what we expected, then we hinder God from letting our fellowship grow according to the measure and riches which are there for all of us in Jesus Christ. There are so many small, ordinary things that happen all around us every day that we take for granted. I believe God is at work if we will only have eyes to see, ears to hear, and minds to reflect and give thanks for these moments of encounter. Finally, I'd like to end on a chance encounter I had while filming this project. As I was driving back from Calhoun Elementary, a car stalled in the middle of a five-way stop. The car blocked the intersection, and many folks were impatiently trying to move around the car. I pulled into a church parking lot and went to see what I could do. Fortunately, a man, thankfully a rather large man, stopped to help. We pushed the car back into the parking lot, where we discovered that Ayaya's gas gauge was broken and that she had run out of gas on the way to pick up her younger brother. As I offered to take her to get gas, which you could see that we spilled from the gas can all over the parking lot, this man thanked me for stopping. He said that he was glad that there were still good people out there. I told him that I thanked God for his stopping, because I couldn't have pushed a car without him. It took the three of us working together to get that car out of that busy intersection. As I think of the story of the Good Samaritan, I am thankful that the gentleman helped us when so many passed by. I also think of Bonhoeffer's thoughts from Life Together. He says, "We must be ready to allow ourselves to be interrupted by God. God will be constantly crossing our paths and canceling our plans by sending us people with claims and petitions." I am glad I was just where I was to meet Ayaya and the good/strong Samaritan who let his day be interrupted by a young woman in distress. Only by being present in each moment, truly living and breathing as one completely aware of others, and of the pulse of God's life within them, can we offer ourselves fully, sacrificially, and openly. May each of us endeavor to experience our neighborhoods and our neighbors in this way.